Steelers are going through a phase. They're getting bangs. It feels like. It does feel like it, right? Doing these things of like, hey, we're going to trade away our receiver and add a receiver. Like at one point in time, everybody's like, oh, it's going to be George Pickens and DK Metcalf. They're just going to be able to throw the ball downfield. Let's be real here, folks. When they traded for DK, Pickens was gone. That was kind of the feeling, right? I don't know who I'm talking to. I'm just saying, in general, it was always the case. But I digress. The Steelers have got themselves some bangs. They're trying to do their midlife crisis. It feels like a midlife crisis. It feels like they're where the Jets were a couple of years ago, but they're a good team. And so it's a weird thing to watch a good team go through a midlife crisis. I digress. That's what I call signing Aaron Rodgers. Listen, Aaron's a great quarterback, or was a great quarterback. He could still probably be a good quarterback. He's probably better than Russell Wilson, even at this stage, because he can, throw to all areas of the field, at least, like, assuming his arm is still healthy. Like, he could see the middle of the field because he's taller than his offensive lineman, which, he's not even taller, but he's tall enough to see over them, where Russell Wilson was, like, seeing their shoulder blades and, like, in the nameplates and their booty shorts. And, like, that was a hard time for him. I get it, man. It's just throw the ball deep. Can't we just throw the ball deep, coach? Check down, deep. Check down deep. I'm sorry, this isn't a Giants podcast. We'll move on. So I digress. I kind of like the Aaron Rodgers signing. To a degree. I don't think it's the worst idea in the world. They did want to bring back Justin Fields. Justin Fields didn't want to go back to them, though. He was like, dude, you guys kind of, yank my chain a little bit, and the Jets really like me. And if they really like me, this isn't a Jets podcast, so we're not going to sit there and dwell on that either. We'll talk about that another day. But again, they missed out. They lost out two of their quarterbacks. They brought in another one who's kind of mercurial, as everybody likes to call him. I don't know. Maybe his Mercury is in retrograde permanently. I have no idea what his astrology sign is. But I digress. I like some of the other additions, right? I like DK Metcalf for a second-round pick. You have a guy who is a proven, like, kind of a number one, man. Like, I think that's a good thing. You're bringing in new pieces anyway. They're going to have to adjust. It's weird because Aaron Rodgers didn't bring the neighborhood with him this time. Maybe not yet. Like, we don't know. Maybe they trade for Allen Lazard. That does seem like it could be still a possibility to add to that room. It seems like they've been interested in maybe adding one more piece to that receiving room. But I don't know. Like, the Jets seem to kind of like Lazard. He took a pay cut to stick around. He wants to prove himself. Rumoredly that he wants to, show that he's not just Aaron Rodgers' baby boy. Like, he's like, I could do things myself, Dad. I could do it. Daddy. I'm not sure Allen Lazard actually calls Aaron Rodgers daddy, but I digress. I also like the trade. Like, we had this cool, sexy trade. They had a cool trade. They traded for Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey. They traded away Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they did it with a pick swap. Like, I thought that was cool. Like, honestly, I thought it was cooler for the Miami Dolphins because I kind of like Minkah Fitzpatrick at this stage more than I like Jalen Ramsey. But Minkah's a safety. Those are easier to replace. And, like, the Steelers had kind of a rough time at corner. And so they said, let's get the oldest corners that we can because obviously age does not matter when you play corner. No, of course not. Why would it matter? Like, we got corners that are like in their 30s, and they're clearly going to still function, right? Darius Slay, and Jalen Ramsey. And they have Joey Porter Jr. and Brandon Eccles. So I listen. They're able. Let's see how it goes when they replace Minkah Fitzpatrick with Juan Thornhill. It could never go wrong, right? The Browns didn't think that was as much of an issue. That's why they got rid of Juan Thornhill. They thought he was a very good player. They were just like, listen, man, like, you're just too sexy for the safety room. They brought in Miles Killebrew. They have Deshaun Elliott. I think they'll be able to work around some stuff. Let's talk a little bit about the offense. Now, with the way that it has been set up, we already talked a bit about DK Metcalf. They have Calvin Austin, who it's rumored to be the number 2, which is interesting. Like, I like Austin. I like them a lot. Speedy, kind of quick dude. I think, that's kind of a guy who is going to be very complimentary to what DK does. And if Rodgers can hit him a couple of quick times. My problem is, though, Rodgers has not done a lot to set himself up to build up chemistry with anybody other than DK Metcalf. Is why I think the Allen Lazard thing is not just like smoke and mirrors and maybe a mirror maze and on top of that and a haystack. I don't know. I think what ends up happening is that they probably do bring in Allen Lazard. But if they don't, if Allen Lazard sits there and begs and pleads to Jets, like, please don't trade me away, sir. I don't want to go to Pittsburgh. I like being in New York. then I think maybe he does stick around, especially because the money to keep him's not that much anyway. Unless there's some other young dudes that are already blowing him past the roster, which I don't think that's the case over there. I just don't. Austin, I'm kind of intrigued by. Roman Wilson, man. I was a big Roman Wilson fan coming out of Michigan last year, and he got the injury. And, I think there's a lot to like about the fit with him and DK and Austin. And, you stick him at flanker. And not for nothing, the Jonnu Smith part of that trade is actually, I think, the electric part of that big Jalen Ramsey, Minkah Fitzpatrick trade, because now you have 3 tight ends that are pretty potent tight ends. I like Pat Freiermuth. I like Darnell Washington a lot. And then I also think Jonnu Smith's a good little kind of weapon that you have. So you could run out there in 13 personnel and dare them to go ahead and try to stop your run game. And, I could just throw it to one of these big dudes or this athletic guy in Jonnu Smith. And then you'll still have DK Metcalf on the field as a split end. I think you have so many good pieces to play around with, some maybe bigger, bulkier packages. And then all these, receivers are really good blockers as well. So I think, which also brings me to why they brought in Robert Woods, the elderly Robert Woods, because he can kind of at least still block and kind of, has some how do you say, leadership skills, which I think they've needed in that locker room for a while. So bring in Robert Woods, and he'll be like, yeah, man, this is how you play receiver in the NFL. Yeah. I don't know why I'm doing that voice, to be honest. I've lost the plot on voices at this point. Let's talk running back, because they lost Najee Harris to, free agency, to little money to go to the Chargers, because they were just like, you're slow. You're big, but you're slow. And we could find other big, slow guys. In fact, we drafted one in the 3rd round. We brought in Kaleb Johnson. Very good zone runner. But I'm not overly in love with the Iowa runner. I think it's a fine addition. He reminds me of Kerryon Johnson, who was a guy who played for the Detroit Lions a few years ago. And again, very veering, upright runner dude. And I think he can be solid. I think he could be good. I don't think he'll be great. I don't know if I see the high upside. I'm still kind of more leaning Jalen Warren at this stage, especially for fantasy. But when I look at Kaleb Johnson, you squint and you tilt your head, there could be some stuff there. He could, you see it. You see, okay, there's some breakaway, and there's the big dude, and he has good zone vision. Not necessarily great, not the best inside, running in between the tackles guy, but you could do it. Offensive line. They have Broderick Jones, who they drafted in the 1st round a couple of years ago. They have Trey Fatanu, who they drafted in the 1st round last year. There's Zach Frazier, who played pretty well last year. Fatanu had injuries, didn't get to really do his thing as much as we were hoping. I was a big fan of him coming out. I like this offensive line. I think it's got some nice bones to it. That's the thing. If they could pass protect here with this offensive line, they could do the blocking and the run blocking, and it's a very athletic offensive line. They got Isaac Semalalu, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, who they also drafted last year in the 4th round. Man, that's a young, valuable offensive line. Now, they've had some turnovers. Some of the some of the older guard who wasn't good is gone, but the core offensive line who they've made an effort to go out and get, I kind of like. The dudes that they've drafted the last few years, I think, are showing some progress. So it's a high upside offensive line. That's a cool thing. Can they keep Rodgers upright? I don't know. Remember, they're going to all be playing against, that Myles Garrett guy and maybe Trey Henderson as the Bengals start warming up some talks. So let's look at it like this. Yes, maybe the Steelers are getting bangs, and maybe they're going through a midlife crisis, but there's cool pieces here, right? There's DK Metcalf. There's a cool, there's ancillary wide receivers who have some upside, maybe not wide receiver 1 upside, but you look at Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin, they're cool pieces. I think they're wide receiver 2 or 3s in this NFL state of affairs. The running back room, okay, Jalen Warren's still there, and he's still electric. Kaleb Johnson, I'm not the biggest fan of, but I think they could do stuff with him. They can grind it out. And and Trey Sermon, I mean, he didn't pop for the Niners or the Eagles, so I don't think he's going to pop for the Steelers, but I could be wrong. And there's the tiny dude, Kenneth Gainwell. He's there too, I think. So not really what you're signing him for. I look at the rest of this team and I go, I like the tight end room. I like some pieces of the wide receivers. I love DK Metcalf. Rodgers is going to be able to operate a full offense. That's good. The defense, I mean, again, as long as you get that TJ Watt stuff fixed. Why do you got to stress everybody out like this? No, I listen. They're gonna be competitive. They might win one extra game because they brought in Aaron Rodgers over Justin Fields and Wilson and everybody. I understand that Wilson and Fields made decisions to go other places. I think Wilson was just like, I don't want to keep waiting to find out what you guys do with Aaron Rodgers. And Fields is like, I know what you guys did last summer, so I'm going to the Jets. So, like, offensively, I think we know what this team's going to be. Grind it out, get the guys in space, get the ball in the hands of the dudes that are catching it or running it, and just grind it out because they just want functional offense. So that's what I think Tomlin was like, yo, Rodgers, come here. We're not going to pay you a lot, but, like, you want to come and, like, just run a functional offense? Maybe we get to the playoffs. I get to the playoffs every year, and I don't even have good quarterbacks. Last year we had tiny Russell Wilson, and we had a guy who is now on the Jets. Like, I know you were on the Jets, but this is the guy who they replaced you with. Now we swapped. Like, you want to come here? You want to prove them wrong? Come on. You want to do it? You want us? You want us? You want us? You want us? Come on, let's do it. It's the weird part of this whole thing with Aaron Rodgers is it took so long. It took past the draft, and everybody's like, they're going to obviously draft a quarterback. They're going to draft Shedeur Sanders, and it just never happened. They were just like, we're going to draft Will Howard in, like, the 6th round because that's about as good as we thought the rest of this draft class was. Cool. I mean, I'm not, like, knocking them for it. People make choices, and, like, listen, if you don't love the quarterback, why spend the pick on them anyway? Especially when you know you're going to get an elderly one that probably is going to play for 1 year for you. Maybe two. I could be wrong, but I think it's probably one. I think it's one. Just saying one. Maybe two, but probably one. Let's go defense, right? There's some drama. TJ Watt wants an extension. They're like, TJ, we don't want to give you an extension. TJ's like, come on, man. Like, I've been good. I'm part of the reason why your defense is good. I get it. You guys have Cam Hayward. You guys just drafted a D-tackle in the 1st round, Derrick Harmon. But, like, can we, like, I get it. You have other edge rushers, but I kind of made them look good. I made them look like Nick Herbig. You're going to run out there with Nick Herbig and Alex Highsmith and elderly but immortal Cam Hayward? No, you want TJ Watt out there. So they're going to extend him. I just assume they're going to extend him. There's no way they're interested in trading him. I don't know what value they're going to get from him anyway. They might as well just bring him back, extend him, make him happy. You know what it is? Make the man happy. Because he's the part that, he completes you. Steelers, he completes Tomlin's defense. Tomlin obviously wants him back. Because, man, those elderly corners without TJ Watt's going to be a sad state of affairs. Again, Keanu Benton and Hayward and Harmon and Highsmith and Herbig are all good pieces, but you kind of want at least one star dude in there to cause some havoc. And I think that's why you bring the dude named TJ Watt to the picnic. The linebacking room's kind of cool, too. Patrick Queen, Malik Harrison, Peyton Wilson, Holcomb, all these guys who I think they're going to be good. I'm not like, I think that they have some good pieces for the linebacking room. But they did get run on, which is why they brought in Derrick Harmon. I'm not sure that has an immediate effect because D-tackles do take a little bit of time sometimes to adjust to the NFL, especially in the run defense game. I look at this defense as, yeah, it seems like you saw that you had a problem, and I'm not entirely sure you addressed it the best way to fix it, but you did the thing and you tried, and I'm gonna give you credit, I guess. But my problem is it's not all that exciting. This team is not that exciting. It hasn't been exciting. I guess this is the most exciting it's been because, again, last year, did you feel really great about late stage Russell Wilson and eventually trading for Justin Fields so you knew that you weren't going to play him? Do the thing, I guess. I don't know. Did they do the thing? Bringing in Aaron Rodgers, the drama that he comes with, the not showing, hey man, I'm taking my time. I got some stuff going on. I get it. You got some stuff. He's engaged or got married to the sea. I'm going to assume, because that's how mercurial he is. I got married. I want to keep my house in Montclair so I could watch New York City do the ice stuff. I don't know. Listen, end of the day, I look at this team and I go, okay, like the safety room, they're out with Minkah Fitzpatrick, they're replacing with Deshaun Elliott, Juan Thornhill, Miles Killebrew. Those are choices. Those are safeties, right? They play safety. Okay, we'll go with that. Yeah, like I said earlier, the Steelers still like a team that's going ahead and getting bangs right now. They're dating older, and it's like, this is my last chance to date a cougar. It's my last chance to date older before I become my eggs are going infertile and stuff. I don't know, man. Listen, Steelers, you do you. I trust Tomlin to get you guys 9-8 again. This is probably a 10-7, maybe. I don't know. Looking at what they have now with Rodgers and what Rodgers can do and operate with the field, especially with these big tight ends and these speed guys who can go deep. And but remember when they asked to run 4 verts and somebody screws up and Rodgers throws the guy under the bus, you might have wanted to just bring back somebody who was a little bit less crazy. I mean, not crazy. He's fine. Right? Right? I don't know. Steelers, I hope you get through your midlife crisis, and I hope Tomlin makes it through as the head coach.